Well, ladies and gentlemen, I regret to inform you that we are at war. That's the bad news. The good news is God is on our side. As a matter of fact, God needs war. God loves war. God chooses war. And God bless America. If you buy into any of that crap, you're in the wrong place. Um, yo, what's up? This is Ichabod. Come on into the chat. Let's get ready to talk about it. Come on in and greet somebody in reason's name. What's up without faith? Good to see you. I know I didn't advertise this one ahead of time, so sort of snuck in, but y'all know I'm always here on a Monday night if I'm not traveling or something. Mo Wheat, what's happening? Says hello, sir, and peeps. Daryl Williams, salutations. God needs war. He's got no choice but to go to war. And we're going to look at some biblical passages and try to see uh, is this really something that's praiseworthy? When I was a Christian rapper, we used to praise the God of the Bible being a God of war. Matter of fact, one of my guys, Enoch, the guy that got me into Christian rap, he had a song, I think, on the second album on House of Representatives where the chorus goes, um, who owns the cattle on 1,000 hills? Who can slay any army on a battlefield? The Lord. Who? The Lord. Who? And we just used to dance around chanting and praising this God who could destroy any army on the battlefield. So we're going to talk about this tonight. But come on into the chat, say what's up. Yes, yes, yes. And while y'all are coming in, I'm going to give a shout out to the folks. What's up, everybody on the screen? Thank you guys for rocking with Ichabod. I'm not going to be on long tonight because there's so much going on in the world. I just want to, want to pop on and see how you guys are feeling. uh, Katie Dotson said, onward, Christian soldier. Indeed. Ambassador LPW says, what's up, everybody? What's going on, everybody, I should say. But no, what's up? All the Patreon supporters, appreciate you all. If you're not a Patreon supporter, the link will be in the description of the video. You can join the Patreon. Yes. So you probably, if you follow me on Facebook, like I said, Facebook is where I do most of my activism for getting people just to think about what the hell are we doing? Why are we believing X, Y, or Z? And a lot of the X, Y's, or Z, a lot of times it has to do with what's coming out of the White House. Why are you believing this bull crap? Or if it's not the White House, it's what's coming out of the Bible. Why are you believing that bull crap? And I'm a sympathizer with one of those because I used to believe the crap that came out of the Bible. I used to spend my days conjuring up ways to present it to other people. But when logic and the light of logic and skepticism came in and shone upon the book, I was able to see it for what it was, and I was appalled, and I, in horror, backed away from it. And now I speak out against it. But what's coming out of the White House deserves just as much pushback, just as much activism against it. We're being dragged into a war that could actually be, I don't even want to say it because I don't know why I don't want to say it because it's not like I believe words have power, but I guess if I say it, then it almost doesn't make it more real, but I guess it makes it more unavoidable. Like I could pretend that it's not as bad as it is if I don't say it. And I guess that's not really true because it is what it is. I know it. But I guess saying it robs me of the ability to live in denial. Like this really could be the beginnings of a third world war. Like what the fuck? Like who would have ever thought that we could, like, can you just imagine, y'all, what life would have been like if we had elected Kamala Harris instead of this buffoon. I mean, think of the thousands of lies we've had to live with over the last years. Imagine not having to live with those lies. Think of the chaos and the destruction and um the fear and the like. Imagine the last year without having to have dealt with any of this. But he didn't just plunge our country into chaos. What he's done to the world. I said this on my Facebook page months ago. I said Donald Trump is a one-man global flood of ignorance. What God in the Bible did with the flood, meaning destroying the entire world, one person, like when has one person ever had the ability to plunge this much of the world into chaos? Like, it's almost impressive enough to make you think, like, damn, maybe there is something to this Bible shit. Like, the idea of an antichrist or the idea of a single person who could become the focal point of this much chaos and disaster. It's like, are human beings really that stupid, or does it take something divine to pull off something this destructive? But if you don't give in to the whole idea of the divine, then you really do have to sit back and say, damn, we really are this, we're this gullible, we're this fragile, we're that stupid, we've always been this manipulatable. And all it took was for enough people to become disinterested or dispassionate about the election to say, I'm not going to go out and vote, or I'm going to vote third party, I'm going to vote independent, I'm not going to get involved, for the people that were willing to elect this asshole to win. I think he only got something like 33% of the electorate. But the rest of that went to independent, third party, Kamala, whatever. And because not enough people were motivated to, the 33% elected this asshole, and then this asshole is plunged the world into, I don't even know the word. Is there a word for what we've been plunged into? And so here we are. It's not just what the US and Israel are doing in Iran. That's its own shit show circus. There's also what's already been happening with Russia and Ukraine. Then you've got Pakistan and not Afghanistan yet, but Pakistan and Pakistan and Afghanistan, yeah. Pakistan going to war with Afghanistan because they say Afghanistan is a colony of India. Now, you probably have seen, we're all familiar with the face-off, right? The standoff that happens between Pakistan and India, two nuclear nations at their border, because they're one landmass, but at their border they have this, their guards have this face-off every day at the end of every day, which is sort of a dramatization of the real hostilities between the two nations, Pakistan and India. But then Afghanistan, when the United States pulled out of Afghanistan in 2021, plunged that nation into their own upheaval. The Taliban takes over, and India is sending humanitarian aid to Afghanistan, which is run by the Taliban. And so now Pakistan has beef with Afghanistan, which may draw Pakistan and India into sharper conflict. So you just got the world on fire right now. And so what I just like you to think about is, hold on, Daryl Williams said, go see the movie Border 2. Is that the Greenland movie? That's not the Greenland movie, is it? What's Border 2? What is that about? Tell me in the chat, because maybe I'll go watch it. 3 hours and 45-minute film. What the hell? Border 2. What is it about? I really want to know now. Um, so anyway, I'm looking at all this stuff and I'm watching what the Christians are saying. You probably saw on my Facebook page the other day, I had a Christian who posted. I'm not going to put it in on the screen, but this is a Christian who might actually come on this channel to debate me about, or at least discuss with me about morality. Darrell Williams said, Pakistan versus India at the border war. Okay. What can I find it on? I'm going to search for it after this. Border 2. Okay, I'm going to search for it after this. But this guy, Marcus Pittman, he posts on Facebook a picture of Secretary of Defense standing behind Pastor Doug Wilson with his hand on him at the prayer, the prayer breakfast, whatever they had. And then this Christian says, with a man like, he calls him Secretary of War, with a man like Secretary of War Pete Hegseth at the command of the United States military, Iran should be terrified tonight. And then he says, be praying for Pete Hegseth. May the Lord give him wisdom and strength as he launches attacks in Tehran. And I don't know, that last sentence just did something to me. May the Lord, so you're talking about your God, who's the God of all creation. May the Lord give Pete Hegseth wisdom and strength as he launches attacks in Tehran. And I don't know, maybe it's just me and my deconstructing mind. Why does God have to give anybody strength to launch an attack? Like, God could just wipe them off the face of the earth. God could strike the leader dead. God could strike the cabinet dead. Why does God have to give Pete Hegseth wisdom and strength as he launches attacks? And so I shared, I don't know if I shared or if I just took a screen. I think I took a screenshot of his post and I reposted it with a caption that basically just said, one, to me, that's the most incongruous Christian sentence ever constructed. May God give him strength as he launches attacks. That's one issue. But then I said, a God who needs swords and missiles is a divine bitch. Because as a God, you've got so many other tools at your disposal. You spoke a world and a universe into existence. Why do you need missiles? Now, if you know about what's going on in Iran right now, they've stockpiled missiles for the last several decades, cheap missiles that really couldn't have done a whole lot on their own. But in light of the way that Iron Domes are set up in that region, they've got ample amount of missiles to continue to fire, because your Iron Dome is only as good as the missiles you have to shoot down the incoming missiles that you're trying to defend against. What the United States should have done was they should have thought, how many missiles do we have stored up? Because we need missiles not to shoot into Iran. We need missiles to shoot down their missiles. That's how the Iron Dome system works. But if they've got umpteen million missiles stored up and you've got 3,000 missiles stored up, the second you run out of missiles, all of their cheap missiles that you were shooting down, now those cheap missiles, their efficacy, their efficiency, I should say, has just multiplied manifold, because you no longer have the missiles to shoot their missiles down. No one thought of that. But But may God give Pete Hegseth wisdom and strength. Maybe God should have given him wisdom beforehand. Say, hey, what did Jesus say? No one goes into battle without counting the cost. Count the cost. Can you afford this right now? So it's a little late to pray that God gives him wisdom now, because he's written him and Trump, they've written a check that their ass is not going to be able to cash. And all of us, we're on the hook for it. So I'm saying, so now you're praying that God gives him wisdom and strength. But why does your God need you? Why does your God need your missiles, your army, your stockpile, your allies? Like, why does your God need that? Well, there's precedent for this. So I just was like looking for, like, where are we getting this? We're Christians. I keep saying we, but because I was so in that even when I'm outside, I'm still like, I understand. I think I can understand why you think the way you think. And even though I'm not a Christian, I'm in this country that's being dragged to war by these idiots. So I'm like, where are they getting this from? So I'm going to read some passages. One passage, actually, some verses from the book of Jeremiah. And as I read this, I just want you to consider the God who seemingly has no choice, the God who's limited to what the humans are limited to. Like, you would think a God's got all kind of ways to, if he's got beef with somebody on the planet, right? What did they say? Christopher Hitchens, the atheist, he got cancer of the throat. What did they say? God struck him with throat cancer because of how vocal he was against. Well, if your God can do that kind of shit, you don't need, spoiler alert, hey, you don't need to go to war. God can strike anybody anywhere. So listen to this in Jeremiah chapter 51. I'm going to jump around. But supposedly the verse begins with thus saith. So this is not just a human, right? This is a God. All right. Listen to what this God has to say. Jeremiah 51. This is about the destruction, the utter destruction of Babylon. Remember when Trump said he utterly destroyed Iran's nuclear capabilities? If you utterly destroyed it, then why are you doing this? Iran's, what did they say, days away from getting a nuclear weapon? But you utterly destroyed that. Okay. Well, this is about the utter destruction of Babylon. Jeremiah 51. Thus says the Lord. How many of y'all, when you were a Christian, used to love those thus says the Lord passages, right? God's getting involved. Thus says the Lord, behold, I will stir up the spirit of a destroyer against Babylon, against the inhabitants of Leb Kamai. And I will send to Babylon winnowers, and they will winnow her. And they shall empty her land when they come against her from every side on the day of trouble. Let not the archer bend his bow. Let him not stand up in his armor. Spare not the young men. Devote to destruction all her army. They shall fall down slain in the land of the Chaldeans and wounded in her streets. For Israel and Judah have not been forsaken by their God, the Lord of hosts, but the land of the Chaldeans is full of guilt against the Holy One of Israel. So Babylon's going to be destroyed. Why? Because Israel and Judah have not been forsaken by their God. And there are very, very many Christians right now who see, oh, wait, Israel's involved in this war? Aha, God must be involved in this war. And God is involved in the war by America coming to the aid of Israel. And so they see God at work in the midst of all this. Right? Yo, what's up, James? Good to see you. And what's happening? Michael Beverly in the house. Good to see y'all. I just peeked up and happened to see friendly names. Want to make sure I holler at you guys. Good to see y'all. So because God has not forsaken Israel, now granted, this is a comfort to Israel because at this time, Israel needed to know, has God forsaken us? Well, the writer of Jeremiah is letting them know, guess what? God did not forsake you. Yo, what's up, Albert Kim? Good to see you. The writer's letting them know God is not forsaking them. Okay, cool. Flee from the midst of Babylon. Let everyone save his life. Be not cut off in her punishment. God's punishing them. For this is the time of the Lord's vengeance, the repayment he is rendering. So God is going to repay Babylon for what Babylon did to Israel in God's vengeance. All right. Skip down. I'm skipping all the way down to verse 20. Because God is in this passage, the writer has God laying out all these things he's going to do to them. And then God says to Israel in verse 20, you, Israel, are my hammer and my weapon of war. With you, I break nations in pieces. With you, I destroy kingdoms. With you, I break into pieces the horse and his rider. With you, I break into pieces the chariot and the charioteer. With you, I break into pieces man and woman. With you, I break into pieces the old and the youth. With you, and he just goes on. With you, Israel, you're going to be the hammer that I use to break. And I'm just sitting here like, why does God need you? Why does God need your missiles, your swords, your horses, your armies, your men, your might, why does a God need anything to pull off anything he's going to do on the planet? You see the drones, you see the missiles, you see the hotels being destroyed, you see the hospitals, you see the destruction. And if you're a Christian, you might be tempted to say, look at this is the wrath of God. I don't see the wrath of God. I see man-made weapons. I see men. I see people making decisions. I see pilots in planes. I see humans. I don't see God doing anything. I never see God doing anything. When I was deconverting, there was an entire stretch of time when I was looking to see God do something. I was quite literally, in some senses, showing my ass, as we say. Like, if I wow out enough, would God ever do anything? And then when I looked for the sign that God was going to discipline me because the Lord chastens those whom he loves, nothing would happen. And the only time I came close to feeling some kind of like, oh, this is God about to get me, was when the Christians got wind of, ooh, Brady, you've been sinning, or you've been this, or you don't believe in him, or you don't. And I was like, oh, okay, so maybe God's going to use them as his vessels. But how come until they found out, there was no activity from on high? The humans always had to find out before it felt like, okay, now God's going to get me through them. but until it was through them, like he was silent. He was distant. So yeah, we see the missiles, we see the drones, we see the armies, we see the Navy ships, we see the aircraft carriers, we see the Christians praying. Where do we see God? God says to Israel, you're going to be my weapon. I don't think this is God using Israel. I think this is Israel using God. And I don't think this is the United States being used by God. I think this is the United States using God. And then you see the videos of people in Iran, or people, in Bahrain, or people in all these different places, as the missiles strike things close to them, and they got their phones out and they're taking videos of buildings being destroyed, and they're screaming, "Allahu Akbar," Allah, and they're crying out for their God, but God never uses them. God never uses them to pay back their enemies. All of them are using God. The Muslims are using God. Allah's not using them. The Christians are using God. God's not using them. God is a prop on the stage of human history. And whoever can control the prop, they get to stand on it and say, aha, I'm taller now because I'm standing on this prop. God's not using you. You're using your God. And so this is the last thing I'm going to say. There's a Christian on my page, and maybe watching tonight, Alexander Twyman. He's been on Ichabod before when I had conversations with Christians. I think he's been on twice. And so I made a post last week because there was some, I don't know if he was a pastor or just a MAGA guy, another one who's gotten, caught with some child pornography or some shit. And I made a post saying, hey, if you're going to condemn this guy, you should condemn Bible God. Bible God is a pedo. Bible God commands Israel in the Old Testament. Bible God commands them, hey, go into this nation, kill all the men with the sword. And not just the men, kill the male infants with the sword. Kill all the women who've known men by lying with them, having sex with them. But then it says, but all the young girls, some translations say all the women children, some say all the little girls, but it's the same idea as kill all the male infants, all the infants among all the males among the little ones, or infants. Same word of little ones. It's the little girls. All the young little girls who've not known men by lying with them, take them for yourselves. So in this passage of the Bible God is telling these Israelite soldiers, all the virgin girls, don't kill them like you do with the infant males. Take them for your wives. Now, we don't know what the command was really meant to say. First of all, it's talking about shit that never happened. Like, Israel did not go on the conquest and kill all these people, take all these lands. It's not what happened. But the fact that these people are writing this, they're trying to give themselves a story that would make them feel good about what their God told them to do so that they can get other people's land. So they did not mind writing in their story that their God told them to go into these lands, kill the male infants, but take the little girls for yourselves. They were okay with their God commanding that. So if you've got a problem with people looking at child porn and all kinds of stuff today, you should have a problem with Bible God telling them go in and take these little girls. And so this Christian, Alexander Twyman, he got on my page and said, I don't think that's right. I don't think you should be saying that, because looking at child abuse material is not the same as what God told them to do. He tried to justify it. I'm not going to read his entire justification. I'm just going to read the last sentence. There's a whole paragraph that he wrote. I'll read the last couple of sentences. He said this several times in our conversation. He says, well, what would you have told them to do if you were God? Like, would you want them to leave the male children alive? Think about what he's saying here. Would you have told them to leave the male children alive? Because if these male children live, they're going to grow up to despise you because you killed their parents. And then they might attack you. So you kind of have to kill them. You have no choice. God had no choice but to tell the Israelites to kill these children because the males would have grown up to. So he says, Again, given the culture and context, what would you have done if the women of your enemies seduced your people and the men were enemies? Do you let the males live to eventually avenge their parents? It's one of the stupidest things you could possibly say. The males will live and avenge their parents, so kill them, but take the female infants and marry them. They're going to live too. You killed their parents too. Can they not avenge their parents too? Like, why is killing the male infants the solution for them? But no, marrying the infant girls, going into them, making them your wives, that's because they can't possibly avenge their parents, is what he's. What? Do you let the males live to eventually avenge their parents? Question mark. Do you let the non listen to y'all? This is a real comment from a person, a thinking adult person. Do you let the non-virgin girls continue to be raised in a culture that promotes prostitution? The non-virgin women, and I guess he's saying if they're not married, but they're not virgins, then they must be prostitutes. So the God who Christians praise for saving people and changing their lives, redeeming them, giving them a new heart, changing their ways, changing their names, even now Saul is Paul, and this God who can change people couldn't have changed the hearts of these prostitutes, because they all must be prostitutes, right? If they're not married and they're not virgins. But your God can't change their hearts, so you've got to kill them. Like the God who could show up on Damascus Road and convict Paul and change his entire life couldn't have changed the hearts of these women, so better to kill them. This is a real question this person is asking me. Do you let the non-virgin girls continue to be raised in a culture that promotes prostitution? Do you leave the women and children to die after the men have been killed? What would you do? Question mark. And that's the end of his comment. Like, he basically spiked it on me, like he spiked the football. Brady, what do you expect God to do? You've got to kill the young males. They'll grow up to avenge their parents. You've got to kill the non-virgin women. They were prostitutes. Now, the women who were virgins still, do you leave them after you've killed their parents? You've got to do something with them. And so the God of all wisdom, his bright idea is, no, take the virgin little girls for yourselves, marry them. Because that's mercy. That's grace. That's provision. That's something. That's godly. And these are the people who are praying that God give wisdom and strength as Pete Hegseth launches attacks in Iran. What kind of wisdom is this God who could think of no better solution than to have soldiers marrying infant children? This God can think of no better solution. You want to pray to that God to give wisdom to this administration as they go into Iran. I think your prayer has been answered, because the same foolishness that pulled off that in the Bible is the same foolishness that's got us going into Iran right now, starting World War III, with no idea of what victory looks like. The Trump administration thought they were going to go in, and Trump literally said this: I'm thinking the same game plan that we pulled off in Venezuela, that's what we're going to do in Iran. regime change, we're going to find somebody else in the cabinet to take the place of the leader that we just killed, the Ayatollah that we just killed. Oops, just found out that the people that we thought might have been able to step into the place of the Ayatollah, we accidentally killed them too when we killed the Ayatollah, so that now they can't. So now we don't know who's going to step into that position. Oh, you know what? Regime change is not why we're doing this anyway. You just said regime change is why you're doing this. No. Remember, I said it was to get rid of the nuclear stockpile. No, you said you destroyed the nuclear stockpile. Oh, no, that's not why we're doing. We don't know why the hell we're doing this. And if you're wondering why the president hasn't spoken to the nation about what's going on, it's because, and several sources have reported on this, the last couple of days, the Trump administration has been shopping around to different media outlets plausible reasons as to why this attack was needed. Not because any of those plausible reasons are the real reason. They're trying to see what gets the best traction, what gets the least amount of pushback. And whichever reason gets the most traction with the least amount of pushback, that's what they're going to, when they finally do a press conference, that's what they're going to try to come and sell the nation on. I think the same God of wisdom that came up with the shit we read in the Bible is the same God who's advising Pete Hegseth and Marco Rubio and Donald Trump and Stephen. It's the same wisdom. However wise you think that shit in the Bible is, that's how wise the shit that we're seeing on the news right now is. Same God, same wisdom. And the atheists can confidently say, no God and no wisdom. This is where we are. What are y'all saying? What are y'all thinking? I think I saw a super chat in here somewhere. Wade, thank you for the super chat. Wade says, notice the common theme here. Zionists in Israel, Muslims in Iran, Christian nationalists in the U.S. World would be more peaceful without religion. Couldn't have said it better. Talk to me in the chat. What are y'all saying here? I know y'all are having a convo. I'm trying to read anything I need to pull out here. Albert Kim says, all about power and ownership, regardless of whether it fits a sensible framework or narrative. True indeed. Without Faith says, this is doing whatever it takes to keep his ass out of prison for you know what. So I like the Midas Touch network. Ben Marcellus has resorted to calling this, instead of Operation Epic Fury, he calls it Operation Epstein Fury. This is no doubt to change the Overton window, to shift from talking about the Epstein files, which, as you see, we're not talking about that anymore, because now we've got to talk about the fact that we're losing servicemen and women in this war now, and we don't know why we're there. This is where we are, folks. This is where we are. The midterms cannot come fast enough. Whatever he's trying to do with rigging this election or suppressing votes, we are going to show up. We are going to show out, regardless of whether or not ICE is at the polls. Like, this motherfucker cannot be allowed to remain in power with the House and Senate that will not stand up to challenge him. This shit has to end, and it cannot come soon enough. Are we going to make it to the midterms? Like I said, this has all the potential. I will say this, though. The fact that he's doing what he's doing in Iran, it's shaking and putting a hole in one of the theories that I held to the most. One of my theories is Trump is Agent Orange. Putin has something on Trump that he does not want to come out. and Trump is under Putin's thumb. The fact that he's doing what he's doing in Iran right now and Russia is up in arms about it. I did not think that Trump had the wherewithal to defy Russia. But maybe Trump is more afraid of what's in the Epstein files than what Russia could say or do. So he's risking angering Putin and doing this. I don't know. I have no idea. But I just say that to say the world is, it's a powder keg, y'all. And I'm not a praying man. And even if, I don't wish I was still a praying man, because we see God's do nothing. Shit happens, and then people blame or credit God with what they want to blame or credit God with. I don't have any confidence in that. But we need to do the things that we can do for the time that we have. But I still offer you that thought. Imagine we had elected Kamala. None of this shit. None of this shit. All right, I'm out of here. Y'all have a great night if it's night, or a great day if it's day. Sign up for the Patreon. I'll be back Thursday with not Life After Faith. I think we're doing Exit Strategy on Thursday. Yeah, I like that y'all been having a great chat in the chat, but I'm out of here. I'll see you guys. Love y'all. Thanks for stopping through. Catch y'all on the next one. Peace.